Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And again, I want to just, in leaving, I want to thank our Vice President, Mike Pence, and Karen. I want to thank Congress because we really worked well with Congress. And I want to thank all of the great people of Washington, D.C., all of the people that we worked with to put this miracle together. So, have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And like that, Trump's presidency comes to an end. We'll talk legacy later, but like that. The changing of power, the assuming of power with Mike Pence being the only one who's going to be there from the administration as Biden becomes the president of the United States. Trump departs. It's been a long time, very long time. Andrew Johnson, him and Ulysses S. Grant did not like each other. It got uglier and uglier. Been, 152 plus years since something like that has happened. Trump on his way to Mar-a-Lago. And alas, we start anew. It's the beauty of our country. So I'll tell you guys this. I posted some stuff today, and we're going to get into where we're headed and the legacy and all that stuff. But for me, I'm optimistic always. There's nothing else to be but optimistic. Oh, you could be sad, and so many people out there are upset. And the funny thing is, what are you upset about? Okay, Trump lost. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Look at all these things they're going to do. We're going to be a communist nation. No, you can't even tell me how we're getting to the communism. You can't. You can't. Just like the left thought for sure that when Trump took over, that we in some way, shape, or form were going to be some bizarre world of nothing but magical wars that are going to happen all the time, and that none of that stuff happened. Because we are bigger than a singular individual. Are there things that I agreed with Trump? Yes. Are there things I disagreed? Absolutely. Are there things I will probably agree with Biden? Yeah, of course. And are there things that I will disagree with? Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar there is. But we're going to be fine. We are going to be fine. We are going to be absolutely fine. That I'm assured. Of anything that I'm assured of all the things I've seen and where we're going, we'll be fine. Does there need to be some unifying? Of course, but we've always been a fractured country. And we act like that there's never been fracture in this country, that Trump came along and somehow we had a war with each other. Neighbors fought neighbors, brothers fought brothers. And we're not there, and we're not going there. But I am optimistic. And I will say this, as I said it yesterday. Joe Biden's my president. I don't have to like him. I don't have to not like him. I'm going to treat him like I treat all the other politicians. You're doing a job. You'll be based on the actions in that job, and we'll go from there. That's it. No more, no less. I never fall in love with any politician. And I think that problem has been that for too many people, we've allowed emotions to cloud our beliefs and judgments. We are going to be fine. I've heard from so many people that are distraught today, and so many people that are gloating. Stop gloating and stop being distraught. It's the best advice I can give both of you. There's no reason to be distraught. But we're going to be this, and then tomorrow it's going to be communism. It's not going to be communism. You can't even tell me what's going to change to the point where you think we're becoming a socialist, communistic nation. And if you equate higher taxes with communism and socialism, you're insane. Enough. And on the other side, everybody out there who thinks that Joe Biden's magically going to roll in here and switch the flip and all of a sudden that this is going to be some just all of a sudden utopia, and that the right and the conservatism is going to go away, you're fooling yourself. You are. But I'm optimistic every day. And I'm optimistic today. Said a prayer for President Biden and soon-to-be former President Trump that here on out, they do the things that they need to do and wish them well. I think that's all we can do. But I think, for the most part, we all need to take a deep breath. The beauty of our country is, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, we reset and have an opportunity. And now is an opportunity. And we should judge Biden on the actions. We should judge Biden on the things that he and his administration do. And we should be open and honest that he may do some things that, even if you love Trump, that might benefit you. And at the same time, people on the left, he may do some things that you think is great that might actually hurt. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. New day. Yesterday, Trump said goodbye. Very interesting. Another one of those situations where everything has been kind of just so much different. And the last 60 days is how I believe Trump will be judged. The last 60 days. He said goodbye on a video, but he did not mention Pence in the video. And he didn't, as he did today and he did yesterday, never mentioned Biden by name, said the new administration. And he did call out the violence at the Capitol, as he should have, in what took place.
All Americans were horrified by the assault on our Capitol. Political violence is an attack on everything we cherish as Americans. It can never be tolerated.
And that's the fear factor of what's going to happen. We talk about the divide in our country. That, to me, is the fear factor for a lot of people in law enforcement that I talk to. The violence coming forward with right-wing militia and the opportunity for them to do something bad. And I don't think to me, I worry more about the one-off scenario, right? The one-off of a lone wolf and things of that nature. But I'm glad he called it out, and he should have done it sooner. He should have absolutely done it sooner. At the end of the day, his last 60-plus days is how he will be remembered. His last 60-plus days. Not the things he did before those, but after. At least in the short term. And we break down legacies. We'll break down the things he did right, the things he did wrong, the promises he kept, and the promises he didn't keep. You know, when I talk to a lot of listeners, people are like, Chad, why don't you hold the media accountable? I have held the media accountable on numerous occasions, and I continue to do so. But there's also personal responsibility. And Trump, in many cases, even as he was leaving, it was very much about him more than it is about a lot of different things. In his administration, the people he worked with, the people he's leaving behind, some of the scorched earth he's leaving behind, and the new administration. But everybody wants to attack. Why don't you support President Trump? I said, I did. I didn't love him. You loved him. You love Biden. I don't love Biden. I support him. He's my president. Well, I don't support him. Well, that's stupid. You're doing the same thing you were criticizing people 4 years ago by saying, not my president. Now you're saying, not my president. And yet you were criticizing them. This is a divide we have. And Trump played a huge part, as did the media. I'm going to give you my opinions based on data, facts, not my feelings. And it's not because I don't have feelings, because I do have feelings. We're moving forward. It's a new day. And we'll look back at what Trump did for 4 years, his accomplishments, his promises kept, and the promises that weren't kept. But today's a new day. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to like it or not, or whether you love it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Home title lock. I'm always amazed, like stealing a car, you think, oh, people steal cars all the time. Yeah, they do, but there's not. Stealing somebody's title is easier and far more profitable, and people do that. I was talking to Home Title Lock, and I was looking up, okay, how often is that? It's happening more and more frequently because people online are realizing how easy it is to get your title, to transfer everything over into their name through simple forgery of your signature, notary, boom, they own your house, and the profitability is huge. You don't even find out your house has been stolen until you start getting phone calls from companies saying you owe us money or we're going to take your house. And in some cases, they take your house. In other cases, they just want you to give them money directly. Then they'll give you back your title. That's why you need Home Title Lock. They're going to alert you to any of these things going on. Anybody messing with your title. And should somebody get by, you're going to get $250,000 in legal fees to help fight that. Protect yourself. Find out right now if you've been a victim. It's simple and easy. Go to HometitleLock.com. You can register right there. And use code RADIO, where you can get 30 days free protection to help you through. Check it out for yourself. HometitleLock.com. Code RADIO. HometitleLock.com. Code RADIO. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
President Trump has handed out pardons to Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, even rapper Lil Wayne. One person who didn't get one, though, this guy.
Hey, I'm Joe Exotic, the gay, gun-carrying redneck with a mullet.
The Tiger King had a whole team trying to convince President Trump to free him. There was even reportedly a limo waiting for him outside the gates of the Texas prison, where he's serving a 22-year sentence for trying to hire a hitman to kill rival Tiger Keeper and Dancing with the Stars contestant Carol Baskin.
Things can get a little crazy around here.
The limo went home empty.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, look, he was crazy. She's a bit crazy. A lot of stuff happens in places like Florida and Oklahoma. I think we just look around and we say to ourselves, you know what? For several weeks during a tumultuous time at the beginning of this insanity of coronavirus, Tiger King united a country. That's all you could say. I was surprised. I thought, like Bannon, what are you pardoning him for? Some of these people, like Lil Wayne, has had more than a few run-ins with the law, but the last one, he had a gun. It's just, he pardons. There you go. I mean, with Lil Wayne, you think Lil Wayne's hating him today? Hell no. Hell no. And I think one of the reasons people always say, well, I can't believe that some rappers and stuff like that, they like Trump because they see a lot of themselves in Trump. Right? They're kind of renegades. They do their own thing. They say a lot of stuff that pisses people off. And I think, they see some of those things in him and vice versa. Very much so. I remember when Johnny Rotten, who was lead singer of the Sex Pistols, Johnny Lydon's his real name, but he was supporting Trump, and people were like, well, that's, I'm like, there's no more punk rock thing in the world at times to do than support somebody like Trump and I think a lot of it was trolling as much as anything else. Plus, living in California, even if you are a libertarian, after a while, you say to yourself, I got to switch because this is insanity. But that was very punk rock, right? Because the establishment and the media was the exact opposite. But I'm still surprised he didn't throw it at Tiger King. I thought he would. It's very interesting that he didn't. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I want you to describe, if you can, for me. And tweet at me. You can text me at Chad Benson Show. Kind of Trump's 4 years. What's he going to be remembered for? Is it the last 60-plus days? Are there other things? For all the stuff that Trump talked about draining the swamp, the reality is he didn't do much of the draining of the swamp. And like I said, he did replace some alligators, but he put crocodiles in there. He revoked his executive order that he signed 8 days into his presidency, which limited federal administration officials from lobbying the government or working for foreign countries after they leave their post. I think you had a 5-year waiting period, and he lifted that. And the reason's pretty simple. Some of these people are going to have a hard time finding a job, but at the end of the day, the swamp seems to be the swamp, and it kind of seems to win. It does. He did not drain the swamp like I think he thought he was going to. And I think, too, sometimes you get into a place like that, and you start to realize how big the job is and the force that you're going against. And it's not even just the Democrats. Let's be honest, right? Every Republican and every Democratic president will tell you, you think you have a lot of power till you get in there. And then they interview him about halfway through, and they're like, you think you got a lot of power, and you realize you don't have as much power. And you're fighting as much with your own party as you are with the other party, and then the media. But Trump lived for that. He lived for the fight. It helped him get where he was. There is no doubt about that. It helped him get to the point where he was president.
I have such power in terms of numbers with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I think it helped me win all of these races.
Let me tell you about Twitter. I think that maybe I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Twitter.
If we had a fair press in this country, I would do that in a heartbeat. There's nothing I'd rather do than get rid of my whole Twitter account.
Well, they got rid of it for you. Right or wrong, that's what happened. We're also hearing that he did leave a letter behind for Biden. I wonder what that's going to say. Kiss my... It may be something that's truly heartfelt. You don't know. And this is the thing about Trump. Trump is one of those people where his actions at time are abhorrent. He does things at time that are just, you shake your head. And then in the moment when nobody's looking, he does something, he says, oh, that surprises me. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. History being made today. We'll touch on that. What's ahead for Biden? What's he need to do? And can he even unify the country? And how much money is available in Powerball and Mega Millions? Wait to hear this. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
More than 7 in 10 voters believe the country currently is on the wrong track. Another 7 in 10 think the next 4 years will remain politically divided. And a majority say they are mainly worried and pessimistic about the nation's future. But let's be realistic. Biden's first and most crucial task is to vaccinate America, to fulfill that promise of 100 million vaccinations in his first 100 days. The ultimate success or failure of his presidency may hinge simply on that one promise that he made. And it might be his only way to begin immediately cauterizing America's social, economic, and political wounds and begin to combat that pessimism that you saw dripping from our poll.
Chuck Todd there. Not dramatic, we know. 100 million in 100 days. Tough task, but for a lot of reasons, because states are involved, and when states get involved, as we all know, things can go sideways. Even if you have the best intentions, they may not work. Secondly, are we going to have that many dosages really to get out? But it is important that because to really take steps to get our life back to a normal way of life, which is where we should be headed, that should be the ultimate goal for every one of us. People back to work, kids back in school, life normal. This is the thing you must tackle first. He's going to have to do several things, as well as our other politicians. Our congresspeople, our senators, they're all going to have to do things in the coming days, weeks, and months that are going to help us get there. On top of that, as you live by the pen, so shall you die by the pen when it comes to executive orders, and he plans a flurry of them.
Today, he's going to sign 15 executive orders, some of which are designed to roll back some of the most egregious actions of the Trump administration. He'll rescind the Muslim ban. He'll reinforce DACA. He's going to sign an executive order to implement masking on federal lands, space where he has the authority as president to implement masking. And he's going to sign an EO that advances racial equity across the government. So he's going today, with the stroke of a pen, start to take real action on the challenges that are facing our country.
And as you all know, you can do those things, and then they're going to get challenged in court, some of them, and some of them will end up, losing, and some of them may be held up. That's welcome to the world of what goes, on with presidents. Trump did it. Obama did it. Bush did it. They all tend to do it. They get frustrated. So they say, well, what can I do? What are the things I can do that I don't need to go through them to get done? And some things they go, well, we're going to try this, and we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. And you've got to think, with Trump placing 3 Supreme Court justices, and in theory, as far as, how you supposedly look at the court, the more liberal judges versus the more conservative judges, it leans 6-3 at least, or 6.5, 5.5 to 3.5, if you will. So, I don't know. He's going to try a lot of things. I've said there are a few things that I have issues with, and the one is immigration. That to me is, I'm surprised that he wants to take this on from the get-go. Now, normally you get 100 days. That's why I talk about the first 100 days, because there's this honeymoon period that goes on in the first, 3.5 to, some people say a year, but it's pretty much about 6 months, minus Trump, that it never came. But you get this situation where you figure, I got my first 100 days. I'm going to set a goal for my first 100 days. To me, there's some things you're like, in a divided nation at this moment in time, with us struggling and us trying to get through the coronavirus, there are some things I should take on, and there's some things I will take on, but at a later date. You can rescind the DACA thing or whatever Trump signed for that. I mean, at this point, I'm so confused because it's been shot down so many times. It's been here and there. That's fine. But trying to give people the pathway to citizenship, 11 million, which we probably would say is closer, I would say, to 18 to 20 million, give or take, because nobody really knows. That's a divisive thing to do early on. Sorry, to me, there are some things you take on and some things you don't early in the game. For him, he wants to get out the gates early. Understandable. But this is the thing I picked up during the debacle that was the 2 debates, the second one being much better than the first one. And his whole, we're going to give a pathway to citizenship. Nobody picked up on it in a real way. And they should have. We can make it easier for people to come here. We can expand the workforce in a lot of different ways. There are things that we can do. But this, to me, it's a non-starter. It is absolutely a non-starter. And this is where the Republicans, there are hills that you're going to have to go, and you're going to have to do what? You die on. And this is one of those hills. This is one of those hills. Healthcare is going to be another place.
Biden wants a massive expansion of the health law with more financial help for people buying plans on healthcare.gov, wider access to Medicaid, and creation of a so-called public option health plan that any American could buy into. But first, sources say the new president will use executive authority, restoring protections for transgender people in healthcare, limiting employers from opting out of contraceptive coverage, and rolling back Trump's plan to let states impose work requirements on Medicaid recipients.
It's all, look, this is the battle that was going to go on. You knew this was going to happen. And Trump and every president that does and tries to govern through executive orders in certain things, this is what potentially could happen if the next person comes in, isn't part of your party, and doesn't have the same belief systems. So these things are easy to see. But healthcare is a perfect example. When we start looking back at Trump and the promises kept and the promises he didn't keep. So his scorecard, well, 24 promises kept, 25 promises kept, 23 promises where there was compromise, which is something you do want to see, but a lot of promises were broken. And repealing Obamacare. Remember, and you can blame, I can't fully blame Trump for that, because the Republicans had years to work on that long before Trump got there. And when he got there, they still didn't have anything worth a damn, and it failed miserably. But it was only by one vote. It should never even been that close, because you didn't have a better option. You didn't put something forward, and you didn't tell the people, look, there are better options and ways that we can decrease your payments and increase your coverage. There's ways that we can create more competitiveness. There's so many. You didn't do that. And that was a giant fail for Trump and the Republicans. I can't put that all on Trump. There's no way, because at the end of the day, while he's the guy that continued to promise us, remember, every 2 weeks, we're going to roll some out every 2 weeks, never came. Those 2 weeks never came. We may get it tomorrow. I don't know. But it started long before Trump got there. Absolutely. He did do some good things. The price transparency from healthcare providers was phenomenal. What am I paying for? I want to try. Yeah, why is that person over there? We got the same coverage, and they paid. They had a broken arm, and they paid $500 and their deductible and a little bit more, and I paid the same deductible and I paid $9,000. What's that about? I like that. That was a good thing. That was. But he did do some things where he failed. Immigration, I thought, outside of the kids in cages, which people will talk about all the time, that was wrong. Even people within inside the administration who were part of that realized what a mistake that was. But the way he went about tackling immigration outside of that, I thought was great. As we're seeing with immigration and people starting to realize they're going to feel like it's an open border again. Feel free to come here without any fear or worry of any repercussions. That is not a good thing. We've talked about that over and over again. And if you go and think that you're going to give pathway to citizenship to 11, 12, 13, 15, however many million people you think you're going to do, and you're not going to fix the border and you're not going to do any of these things, what do you think? That's an invitation. An invitation. He didn't make any cuts to Social Security. He ended the defense sequester. He expanded some mental health programs with the help of the Democrats. He increased veterans' health care. And by the way, he did that in a major, major way. Let's not forget, when Obama left, the VA system was a debacle. Trump, boom, changed so much of that. He did. There's a lot of things. And let's remember, we're talking about the actual stuff, which is what we stopped doing with Trump because there was so much drama around Trump. So much drama around him. He liked it. He fed off of it. He spoke directly to the people. Yet at the end of the day, it also cost him a lot because we focused more on things that really had nothing to do with everyday life. He failed some. He had some successes. Welcome to the world of politics. He lied a lot. He was overindulgent to himself and his economy. And we're going to touch on that as well and where this economy may be going as we look ahead. Like I said, I'm optimistic every single day because I also realize one thing. I live in the greatest country in the world, and opportunities are everywhere. They are. And I know that, yes, luck plays a lot to do with some things in life, but so does hard work. And I've always found out the harder I work, the luckier I get. And that is an amazing thing. It truly is. We'll break down Trump's legacy. Also, look at another legacy being built today. And we can't understate the fact that, Kamala Harris is going to become the first woman to hold either the vice president or presidential office. That's a huge thing. You don't have to like her. You don't have to endorse her. You can hate all the politics about her. But the reality is, it's a great step. That is. It's a huge step. And I'd like to see that there's some women on the Republican side who are going to stand up, the Nikki Haley's and several other who are going to take the mantle and start to run with it, because the Republicans are going to need to win back those suburban women big time. And to say that, that's not going to be a helper would be a lie. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Raycon, best earbuds around. Love my Raycons. They are it's I keep telling people, more and more people ask me, even people I work with, they go, those things really work? I'm like, you guys have no idea how amazing these things are. And what I love about them is the fit. And I go on and on and on and on and on about the fit, but that's what separates the good to the great. And that's why they're great. The sound quality is amazing. The no stems and wires is incredible. But that fit brings everything together. You will love these. I know it. And normally you'd spend $200-$300. I know that one company has some out there for like $500. Why do that? These are as good and better. And they start well under $100. Try them for yourself. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Darn, that climate change. Batten down the hatches. It's Topical Storm Chad, headed your way.
The best way to sort of describe it is that transition of the House is an organized chaos.
Even today when Trump was leaving the White House, they were bringing out boxes. You're like, wait, what? Yeah, they're bringing out boxes. That was, I was like, what did they think? That it wasn't going to happen? Or they late? It was a mess, and they're going to spend a bunch of money, having to clean everything.
Cleaning reinforcements are being called in. A Virginia contractor has been awarded the job of deep cleaning the White House. The General Services Administration says cleaning will include, but is not limited to, all furniture, flooring, window treatments, handrails, doorknobs, light switches, countertops, elevator buttons, restroom fixtures and dispensers, door handles and push plates, and lighting fixtures. The deep cleaning comes after multiple large, mostly maskless in-person events at the Trump White House in recent months. The events were linked to at least 3 COVID-19 outbreaks, dozens of Trump staffers and allies testing positive.
Yeah. You'd have done that anyways. No matter how careful you were, you're still going to do that. You still clean everything deep. Remember when it was not Biden, but Clinton? Clinton took the W's, all of his staff had taken the W's off the keyboards and stuff. I don't care what anybody says. You know what? They're still human beings, right? And they can all be childish. Trump proved that. But, everybody acts like Trump's the only person that's ever been childish in politics. That is a lie. It is absolutely a lie. Plenty of them have been childish in politics. Taking the W's. And he left him a note. Nobody knows what's in the note, but he left him a note. And that's been something that, H.W. Bush did for Clinton. And that tradition's been kind of passed along because you're the 46th of your kind. So there's stuff to learn. And Biden may have been a vice president, and he may have been a senator and in politics for 40 plus years. But you don't know until you're in that position. You don't know until you're in that seat all that comes with it. And there's only 46. It's crazy. All right, Mega Millions. Producer Phil, are you going to get your Powerball Mega Millions?
On my way home, I am.
On your way home. So, Mega Millions jackpot, $970 million. I will once again say that. $970 $770 million. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, that's too much. I'm going to go with $730 million for Powerball. That's right. So the winner can choose $970 million annuity or the minuscule $716 million cash option, which is paid immediately. Most people choose the cash. Out of that, half of that will probably be going to taxes. So there you go. Odds of winning, 1 in 302,575,360 in the 45 states where the game is played, including D.C. and the Virgin Islands. God, if you won that in the Virgin Islands, you could just I want to buy the island. Stole me as king. Oh, my goodness. So Powerball drawing Wednesday night, $730 million. So if you have the need to get over the hump with $730 million, you're probably walking away with about $500 million. It's up for grabs tonight or Mega Millions. Either way, by the time all is said and done, we're closing in on about $1.7 billion, $1.8 billion up for grabs. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Watch Trump play Mega Millions and win. That'd be awesome. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And again, I want to I want to thank our Vice President, Mike Pence, and Karen. I want to thank Congress because we really worked well with Congress. And I want to thank all of the great people of Washington, D.C., all of the people that we worked with to put this miracle together. So, have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, have a good life. And like that, the changing of the guard. New president. Crazy, right? Like that's what? New president. 46th president of the United States. 46th president of the United States. Following Donald Trump, a lot of stuff that Joe Biden is going to have to get to in the coming weeks and months. But Trump is gone. Chaos, craziness. I mean, I don't even know how you would describe the last 4 years in a word. Chaos is probably the best word. There were times when he was every bit the president that a lot of people thought he would be, and there were times when he was every bit the president that people thought he would be. The end of the day, he leaves behind a mixed legacy, I would say. And it's hard, when you're trying to define legacy, you need to give legacy time to breathe, right? You need to give legacy time to percolate a little bit. The immediacy, which at least for the next probably few years, is going to be what took place on the Capitol and the last several weeks during this insanity of trying to figure out how to win an election he lost. Outside of that, it takes time. It absolutely takes time. Because there are things out there that, let's be real, if tomorrow, right, Biden's first full day without the pomp and circumstance, but really gets working at it, and within 100 days, coronavirus is 10 times worse, the economy is tanking, and, people start to go, miss me now kind of thing. But we could be 4 years from now going, well, look what the stock market's at. We're at 45,000. Oh, my God, we never thought we'd see this. And unemployment's down at, 4%, 5%. And the people that were bitching, and guess what? You're still America. You still have your freedoms. And you don't know. Or 4 years from now, we could be in a situation where we're just in a quagmire, if you will. We're just kind of loafing along, struggling, and you'll be going, well, a lot of what Trump was doing was right. You take away that coronavirus, and I'm still of the belief you take away the coronavirus, and we're not having this conversation about Trump leaving with all the chaos. I think that gave the opening to it. I still think it would have always been close, but I think that was a huge, huge part of what was going on. So legacy takes a while. You have to let it breathe. You have to let it work its way out there. You have to see, the court system. What does that look like? Because we've not really seen the rulings now that we have a full 9 justices on the court. We haven't really seen that yet. We haven't seen the federal judges at work yet. We haven't seen a lot of these things in full play. So his legacy immediately will be of division. For some, racial animosity. For others, it'll be about making America great again. But there's no doubt that the last 70 days or so, 60 days or so, is what will be top of everybody's mind. And as we all know, the further we get away from something, the different look we have, because we start to put things in perspective that aren't based on emotional feelings that we have. They're based on perspective and a looking back after things had been done after he's gone, where certain comparisons can start to come in. And that's just a reality. I have friends who are staunch Republicans who say, well, Joe Biden's not that bad. I did really well under Obama, so it's not really a bother for me. And there's a lot of people that feel that way. It's probably going to be much of the same. Okay. So let's give it perspective when that is due. We can look at the emotional side of it, the way that he acted over the last 70 days, and we have 60 days. We have every right to criticize so much of that, especially that debacle that took place 2 weeks ago today, as well as all the things that led up to that. There is no doubt those things need to be talked about. But for the other stuff, it's going to take time. It's going to take time, and everybody will look back on it in a different way. But was he the worst president ever? Probably not. Was he the best president ever? Probably not. For some, was he a hero? Yeah, and for others, he was a villain. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Big doings today. New president's going to hit the ground running. They talk about the first 100 days, how important those 100 days are.
In the House, Democrats hold just an 11-vote edge. In the Senate, it's dead even. Kamala Harris is vice president, the tiebreaker. Big-ticket Democratic priorities like universal health care, the Green New Deal, new gun controls, and citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants not going anywhere fast. Lawmakers in the middle now more powerful than ever, and moderate policies are seen as those with the best chance of becoming law in the months ahead.
Which is, I think, where most of America lives. We live in that kind of center-right, center-left. If you go and look at, you take away the presidency, right? So take away, in the last election, I want you guys to keep this in mind. In the last election, you take away the presidency. We're still a center-right country. We still are. Houses flipped, the legislation houses across the country flipped in many states. They picked up more congressional seats to Republicans, and they probably should have won at least one of those congressional Senate seats in Georgia. But Trump, that's all Trump. That entire thing lands at Trump's feet. That entire thing lands at his feet. 100%. So when you look, we're still a little center-right country. So moderates have a lot of power. And that includes moderate Democrats like Kyrsten Sinema, who was once uber progressive when she was in the state legislature here in Arizona, and has now become one of the most independent senators, as well as potentially her partner from Arizona, Mark Kelly, and Joe Manchin. All Democrats. And Joe Manchin is a blue Democrat in a dead red state. And he likes the power, and he likes the fact that he can check even his own inside of the Senate. And he has no problem doing that. So while it is essentially a tie goes to the runner in the Senate, and they do have an advantage inside the House, it's not as cut and dry. And that's why the executive orders are going to be extremely important for Biden, but those are going to be challenged. And if you think about this, Trump's legacy outside of the chaos and craziness is also going to loom large because the federal courts have changed in such a way, the lower courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court. And as we've seen with Trump's numerous executive orders and the things that he's done, what's happened? They get challenged left, right, and center. So this will be interesting. His biggest thing that he has to focus on, the number one thing that he must focus on, the absolute thing that he must focus on is getting us up and running as a nation again. Not giving people more money. Not figuring out how we can continue to. It's about giving people their lives back by getting us through this thing. It's about making sure that we get up and running and that states understand. And this is if I'm Joe Biden, the first thing I do is I convene all of the governors, and I think most of them will participate. You might have a few that won't, but most of them will. Even Doug Ducey today, who is a huge supporter of Trump, who I believe his want was Trump was going to take over again for a second term, and he was bouncing, leaving his governorship and going to go to D.C. and be either a secretary or somewhere in the cabinet. But he's going out there today to be part of the inauguration, which I think is a very adult thing to do, as is Pence. Again, an adult thing to do. But if I'm him, I said, look, my 100-day plan to get 100 million people vaccinated also means we are going to have a timeline. And the timeline is this. We're back on our feet and we're up and running. We're back on our feet and we're going. We're moving forward. We got to give people, right? We keep telling them there's light at the end of the tunnel. Well, guess what? Here is the off-ramp. Here's how far the tunnel is, and this is where we're getting off. So we're doing this. And for the people out there who don't want to get a vaccine, that's your choice. But we're going on. And if you get sick, like anything else, everybody takes calculated risk. You're adults. So we're moving forward. That's what I would do. Will he? Probably not. But this first 100 days when it comes to the coronavirus and the vaccine, this right here, this is what is going to start his presidency off on the right foot or the wrong foot. Because if he can't get this under control, and I know he's got a hole to dig out of, because let's be real, Trump abandoned any part of this fight months ago. And while I give him all kudos when it comes to the stuff he did and the way he, really helped get rid of the regulations and paved a way to get a vaccine, we're so far behind where we should be. And that's not all on the feds. Some of that's on the states. But at the end of the day, if this takes us another year or two to get out of in a real way, where we're back to pre-coronavirus kind of living, his presidency is going to be a hot mess and never really get off the ground. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. And I don't want that, by the way. I don't want that. I do not want that for any president. Yes, including this president. And I will say this, and I'll say it again. He's my president. If you don't like it, that's a you thing. You don't want to listen to him anymore? That's a you thing. The same way that people on the left said Trump was not my president, he was my president. Biden is my president. Kamala Harris is my vice president. Mike Pence was my vice president. Because I'm an American, I want them to succeed. Don't have to agree with them. I can argue against some of the stuff. We could talk all day and debate about it, but at the end of the day, that's the way it should be. Hoping they fail is un-American. Period. Not patriotic. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? I'll give you a hint. Inauguration is trending. For those of you guys who didn't know. Let's do some non-inauguration stuff. How about that? Let's do that. I like that. I think we need to stay. Let's do something that is not all political. Phillip Rivers, 17 years in the NFL, announced today he is retiring. Played 16 of those 17 years for the San Diego/LA Chargers, and the last year he played for the Indianapolis Colts. Decided he had had enough. I think he's got 412 kids. I'm not quite sure. I know he has a lot. Said, I'm grateful to the Chargers, 16 seasons, and the Colts, 17. Thanks to all my coaches that helped me grow as a player and a person. Thanks to the support staff. I appreciate the opposing defense, making it challenging physically and mentally every week. I also enjoyed the banter, who was a big trash talker, and his trash talk was rated G. For those of you guys who had no idea, extremely committed faith. And very interesting. There was one time when I think the Chargers, a bunch of guys in the locker room offered him, I think it was $10,000 to say a bad word. Cash. They all had it right there. He wouldn't do it. Very, very interesting. Head on over. Joe Exotic not being pardoned. Mega Millions as well. Coda Black. Trump commutes Coda Black sentence on federal weapons charges. Don Sutton, the Hall of Fame Dodger pitcher, passes away at 75, also trending. But Joe Exotic has the biggest trend in the last 24 hours. Not even close. A lot of people thought he was going to be pardoned, and they had everything ready. They got a giant, huge stretch limousine, and they had like a full staff of designers and beauty people, and they were going to come on in, and they were going to redo the mullet and just let it fly, and it just never happened. And that Mega Millions drawings, you guys haven't heard, 970 for Mega Millions, 730 for Powerball. That is huge. When all is said and done, we're looking at 1.65 billion, give or take. What? Yeah, absolutely. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet and text. Love hearing from every single one of you. New president. He's got a lot to do. Where does Trump go from here? That's what I think a lot of people are asking. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
4 years ago, I came to Washington as the only true outsider ever to win the presidency. I had not spent my career as a politician, but as a builder looking at open skylines and imagining infinite possibilities.
Donald Trump, as he left today, Biden, the new president of the United States, 46th president. Trump, Trump fought a different fight. There's a machine, and I don't think people understand. I think more and more people realize that, and Trump fell into it. Trump fell into a lot of this stuff. I mean, just today by reversing his executive, order that he signed, 8 days into his presidency about lobbying and how many years you have to wait before you can go lobby, and boom, because people need to get gigs, right? Like a lot of these people are looking around. But then the question comes, with Trump, you were an outsider. You came to D.C., you fought the good fight. You lost some, you exposed some, and sometimes you were exposed on what kind of place it is. You realized with people like Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer that at the end of the day, you were part of the machine and you wanted to expose some of that. And look, I wouldn't want that gig for $400,000. Yeah, you get the money afterwards, right? If you want to. He doesn't need the money. Well, he's going to need the money, but it's, you go in there, no matter how good of a guy you are or gal you are, you're going to go in there with half the country either not liking you or disagreeing with you, or both. That's could you imagine that? All right, here's the deal. There's 100 people in this room. Oh, cool. Right, you're going to go out there and you're going to give a speech. Oh, that should be great. By the way, half of them are going to hate you. Wait, what? But they don't even know. No, we're just telling you. I mean, we've kind of given a little bit of what you believe, but half of them are not going to like you. So your best bet is to, just deal with it. That's nuts. It's the reality of it. He went in as an outsider, and he's leaving as an outsider, and quite frankly, he's being ostracized in some way. And the question for him is, what's next? Because remember, Trump was so much more than a politician. He was a showman. He was a communicator. He was so many other things before he became the politician. We know that. But because he had an avenue to do the things that he wanted to do as far as reaching the people, that changed so many ways. He changed. I mean, everybody talks about Obama being the first social media president. He was nothing compared to Trump. The difference is Trump let it all hang out. And while it got him there, it cost him that. And he's even spoken about the importance of social media.
I have such power in terms of numbers with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I think it helped me win all of these races.
Let me tell you about Twitter. I think that maybe I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Twitter.
If we had a fair press in this country, I would do that in a heartbeat. There's nothing I'd rather do than get rid of my whole Twitter account.
And that's gone. And as he faces a new life today, the thought process was Trump's going to ride off, right? Is he going to be somebody who's going to lose and come back? He has everything in his hands. He's going to, they were talking, he's going to build a media empire. He is going to do all of these different things, and all because of the influence he has on Facebook, and he had on YouTube, and he had in particular on Twitter. And the reach that he had. And today, as he left.
So, have a good life. We will see you soon.
How? I mean, that's a real question. The thing he loved about Twitter, even the people inside would talk about the fact that he didn't care if you hated him. He just wanted a reaction. He didn't care if you couldn't stand anything. He cared about the likes, the retweets. It became somewhat of an addiction for him. And that addiction is not being met by golf. Right? That's not going to be, he's not going to have a chance to voice the things that he wants to voice. So the thought of him being the new, power broker, right? The new person who goes out and as the kingmaker or the queen maker, the thought of him doing stuff like that, that's going to be tough. And everybody's like, well, he's the president. He can go out and he can speak whenever he wants. That's what they were saying for the last couple of weeks. You don't understand. He understands he can go out and speak. The difference is whatever he says, however the media wants to spend it, and they spin it this way and they spin it that way or whatever, he has no way of communicating saying that's not what I meant. That's not what I say. He can't fight back. So essentially, they have all the power. Trump had the power here, and that power's been limited. So where he goes from here in the political world, I don't know. And then you've got the other side of stuff, which is something that isn't being talked about, but is going to start being talked about. It's pretty simple. There's still an impeachment out there. And yesterday, Mitch McConnell, well, he didn't hold anything back.
The mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the president and other powerful people. And they tried to use fear and violence to stop a specific proceeding of the first branch of the federal government, which they did not like. But we pressed on. We stood together and said an angry mob would not get veto power over the rule of law in our nation.
He's right. At the end of the day, there's responsibility. And it wasn't just that day. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to point to that speech, and they're breaking down where all the things. It's not just about that. It is the subsequent 60 plus days that led up to that day and that moment and that time and the things that happened there. It was all of it, not just that moment. Not just that moment. Mitch is taking, Mitch doesn't want him to be a part of the party anymore. Mitch doesn't want him to be the kingmaker. Mitch doesn't want him to have that kind of influence that he had. But Mitch also understands I walk a fine line. A lot of people still like Trump, at least his policies. So you walk that fine line of, even though those people are like, hey, we're moving on with life, Biden won, they never bought into this grand conspiracy and all of these things. The other side of it is, I don't want him leading the party. I don't want him to have influence. I don't want him to be calling the shots from Mar-a-Lago in what goes on in the party. So they need to figure out how this goes, how they rebound. Harry Reid, definitely a Democrat, also knows where the aliens are, but talks about what the party needs to do.
Working with McConnell the many years I have, he can be accused of a lot of things, but one of them he's not done. And I think he realizes Trump is a drag on the Republican Party, and I think that was the opening salvo for Mitch McConnell to disengage from Trump, try to reestablish, rebrand the Republican Party. And you can hate McConnell for that. Right. And a lot of people are, and they're mad. And, because that's what we do now. It's like, oh, you're going to be seen with Biden. So, I get it all the time. You Jed, you said Biden's your president. Yeah, because he's president of the United States. I'm an American, so he's my president. Oh, my God. So you're a communist? Like we're not having a conversation because you're insane. And I've always been told never argue with a stupid person. But McConnell's thinking long term. Trump cares about Trump. Trump cared about this election. McConnell's thinking bigger than that. McConnell's also pissed because he looks over and he says, you lost us and my power in the Senate. Now I have to share power with the tiebreaker going to them. So, yeah. But he's thinking, I have to protect the badge. I have to protect the party. No person should be bigger than the party. So we'll see. Democrats, right now, the funny thing is, because this takes front and center, and what took place 2 weeks ago takes front and center, when you talk to the people who are in the Democratic Party, not so much the politicians, but the people that are surrounding the politicians and who are helping them get to those places, they have a huge worry because they saw what took place in November. State legislative houses flipped.
They gained more seats in the House than they thought. Thought there was going to be a blue wave, and it turned out to be the exact opposite. And this next Senate, there's more up for grabs for the Democrats as far as protection than the Republicans, so they can make headwaves. And they know that. They understand that. But Trump sucked all the air and oxygen out of that room. So now we're in a situation where people don't pay attention. But those people that do, they're looking around going, yeah, look, we're still a center-right country, whether people want to believe it or not. And much of this was a referendum on a singular person. We'll see. But I do not know. I have no idea what Trump's going to do. I don't think he does. I think he thought he was going to do several different things. But I don't think he knows. And the other side of it is, too, is as time, as you're out of sight, you're out of mind. Right? Out of sight, out of mind. 6 months removed from this, if things are back to some normalcy that we used to have, that we need to get back to as fast as possible, and the economy is picked up and people are back to work and we're on steady footing, and people are going to look around and say, well, out of sight, out of mind. And right now, Trump's going to be out of sight, out of mind because he can't communicate. And he faces an impeachment. And there's very little he can do to get a message to his supporters the way he used to. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Car Shield is great. Like so I saw early this morning. Normally they ride in the Beast. You guys know what the Beast is. If you guys don't know what it is, that is the big giant SUV that is it's the Beast. They had Car Shield, they'd never have to worry. Whoa. And it doesn't matter. The car has 1,000, 5,000, 150,000 miles on it. Whether it's the Beast or just a regular old Honda Civic. Let me tell you something. Car Shield's here to help. Maximum safety on the road for a low monthly cost. Starts as low as $99 a month. No contracts, don't worry about any of that stuff. You just call them up and say, look, I'm really interested in protecting my car from my engine blowing up, my transmission, the electronics in my car, because they handle that. As we know, more cars are dependent upon that. You get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. They get you, sorted out and get them paid directly. You pay that small deductible. You're not fronting any money anywhere. Call Car Shield. Find out how you can protect your wallet and your car. Over 1 million drivers they've helped. What are you waiting for? 800-665-2157. Mention code Benson. Saves you 10%. Or go to carshield.com. Carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
A bunch of pardons and commutations, over 140 of them, but the one that really stood out was Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, of course, was the chief strategist here at the White House. He was the chairman of his presidential campaign. Steve Bannon had been charged with, as part of a scheme, allegedly defrauding Trump supporters, actually raising $25 million for an organization called We Build the Wall. Very little of wall was actually built with that $25 million.
Yeah, so Steve Bannon got that. And speaking of the walls, we break down some of the stuff that Trump did or didn't do. Move the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He did that. Kept Guantanamo Bay open. Yeah, did that. Repeal the alternative minimum tax. Did not do. Cut the tax number of tax brackets. Didn't do. These are his promises. Releases tax returns after an audit is complete. Never did that. never balanced the budget fairly and quickly. But the wall. So how much of the wall did he get built? It depends on who you talk about. He'll talk about, I did, 470 miles, or I did. Much of the stuff that was done when it came to the wall. By the way, Mexico didn't pay for it. For those of you not keeping score, Mexico paid not a dollar for it. Remember that? So he paid none of it. Maybe it depends. Some people say 47 miles. Other people say it was 80 miles. What I know, it wasn't all that in a bag of chip. He did not do that. And not all of it's his fault. Look, you make promises. But the reality is, as a president, making promises only really goes so far if you don't have the power to help get it over the finish line. You could do everything in your power to try to get it there. But sometimes you're running uphill. But he never, and even when he talked about the wall, I mean, they retrofitted and did some stuff for the wall that made it supposedly harder to climb and get through, but we all know that's a bunch of crap. And I think he built anywhere between 47 and 80 miles of new wall. And Mexico didn't pay a dime for that. Didn't pay a dime. So that was a promise not kept. Not all of it's his fault. But that was really the hallmark of what really built so much of his presidency. Grow the economy by 4%. He did not do. Some of that you can look up and say, obviously, the coronavirus played a huge role in that. And I can't blame him for all the coronavirus issues. But even before that, he did not get to that point where he grew it. And he talks about the great economy. And you know what? His economy was really strong, and he put it on some good footing. Obama's economy was also really strong. So, yes, at times it was better, but overall it was not all that in the bag of chips that he says it was as far as being the greatest economy in the history of economies. The best performance of Trump, 2018, grew by 2.9% over the level in 2017. In addition, it didn't even hit the 4% mark in a single quarter under Trump. So, I'm giving you the truth. Was a good economy, was a strong economy. I thought it was a well-balanced economy. But at the end of it, was it the greatest economy of all time? Everybody will debate that. If you go by numbers, he did a really good job. If you gave him a grade, I'd say give him a B plus A minus on that. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And again, I want to I want to thank our Vice President, Mike Pence, and Karen. I want to thank Congress because we really worked well with Congress. And I want to thank all of the great people of Washington, D.C., all of the people that we worked with to put this miracle together. So, have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good life. I'm out. Peace out. Like that, new president comes in. New president of the United States comes in. 46th president, Joe Biden. I'm going to tell you guys right now, all right? I want you guys, I love my country. The good, the bad, everything. Look, every country in the world has its wars. Every country in the world has its moments like, I'm ashamed that happened. Every country has issues. We've got an issue now. We're divided. in a major way. Media helped with that. Trump absolutely helped with that. And we were divided anyways. We just have a way to sound off and be even more divided and go into echo chambers we never had before. But he's my president. Joe Biden's my president. I'm optimistic. Because I'm always optimistic. First of all, because I love life. I work hard. I have a great family. I bust my butt. I've been very poor. Several years ago, while I was building this thing, I was dirt broke. I'm talking dirt broke. Like, super broke. Like you could not believe kind of thing. Even when the economy was booming or doing well or whatever you want to say, I was struggling. But I never gave up, and I pushed forward. And I realized, and as I've always had, that, you know what? We control so much more than I think people think. And we look at politicians as if they're going to be the solver of all things that are wrong in our lives. And that's not true. It's not. I'm optimistic because I love our country. I've been fortunate enough to live in other places. I've been fortunate enough to spend very important, formative years in places like Europe. And while England was always my second home and always will be my second home, America's my home. And the one thing that always separated us in a noticeable way is the fact that we always had this attitude of independence and stick-to-itiveness in ways that no other country had. A belief that, you know what, you could literally start from zero. And it's funny, when you see people who started from nothing in other countries, especially impoverished nations, 99 times out of 100, when they become something bigger and grander, it's because they came here. And America had a spirit and opportunity that was there and saying, look, you may have nothing, but you can have all that you want. Like I said, it's not perfect. I'm going to differ with Joe Biden on many things, as I did with Trump. You know, more and more over the last several weeks, but if you listen to my show for a long time, I want to deliver to you a show based on reality, not based on what you want to hear, based on what you need to hear, the truth. I was tough on Trump because he deserved it. I'll be tough on Biden because he deserves it. But I also heaped praise on Trump when he deserved it, and I would do the same with Biden, as I think we all should. So when I hear people on television say things that are insane, you guys are getting clickbaited. When I read some of the comments about he's not my president, I remind you 4 years ago, you told the people on the left to shut their mouth. He is your president. He's the president. Prayed for him today. I'll do it again tomorrow. And I want him to succeed. But I'm not leaving everything as far as his presidency and his success just in his hands. Because the reality is there's many players, as Trump found out, that are going to play a part in it. The end of the day, though, I'm always hopeful. I'm always optimistic. One man is not bigger than the party. One man is not bigger than the country. And one man is not bigger than the ideals of which this country is built upon. It's just, that's not it. Trump was never God nor the devil. He was a flawed individual, as is Biden. There's no doubt in my mind. Because you know what? We're all flawed. My hand's raised. I've made many mistakes, and I'll make more mistakes because I'm a human being. The end of the day, we've got a new president. And you can hashtag not my president. You can say you're never going to listen to me again, and I'm okay with it. I get that all the time. It's oddly enough, though, I continue to hear people who say they were never going to listen continue to come back. You should want him to succeed, and you should be frustrated when he does things that you don't like. But like every day, I'm hopeful. I'll be more hopeful tomorrow. And another day, I'll be more hopeful. And I'll be optimistic. And it's not based on who's the president or not the president. It's based on where I live, the spirit that we have, and who I am, and how I've gotten here, the ups and the downs of life. So before everybody decides on the right that it's over and that we're going to be China or Venezuela or the former Soviet Republic, that's just not going to happen. Just like Trump didn't take us into thousands upon thousands upon thousands of wars. I mean, the insanity of some of this stuff and the derangement syndrome that came with that. It's the same. So take a moment today. And I think most of you will, because most of you are sitting there thinking to yourself, well, you know, we got to see how this plays itself out. And we shall see. But, Mr. President, the floor is yours. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I love hearing from all of you. That being said, on the way out, President Trump did pardon some people. He did do that. But he didn't pardon one person. And for that, I'm kind of bummed.
President Trump has handed out pardons to Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, even rapper Lil Wayne. One person who didn't get one, though, this guy.
Hey, I'm Joe Exotic, the gay gun-carrying redneck with a mullet.
The Tiger King had a whole team trying to convince President Trump to free him. There was even reportedly a limo waiting for him outside the gates of the Texas prison, where he's serving a 22-year sentence for trying to hire a hitman to kill rival Tiger Keeper and Dancing with the Stars contestant Carol Baskin.
Things can get a little crazy around here.
The limo went home empty.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. They had everything set up. But Chad, he was going to hire a hitman to kill Carol Baskins. It's a seedy world. I will. Let me tell you something about the exotic animal world. Because for so many years, it was unregulated. And then when it became regulated, people were really seedy. And, it's all kind of seedy. It is all kind of gross and seedy. Not so much anymore, but yeah, it was kind of like UFC at the beginning. I think John McCain called it a human cockfight, right? Like that's all it was. And now, ABC over the weekend, it's on a major network in the middle of the day. Times change, but it's all seedy. I mean, Carol Baskins, let's be real. People still questioning in a major way what happened to her husband. So, but Joe Exotic, I thought he brought the country together in a time. Because think about this. When Tiger King hit Netflix, so it lands on Netflix. It's that March time. It's the shutdown. The reality of what is taking place is now real. It's starting to sink in. And for a few months, he took people's minds and his chaos and craziness. Really, he took a lot of people's minds off that. That was stuff that we were talking about. More so, I think, than even, Jordan's documentary, which was huge. But that right there, I was surprised, Bannon, Lil Wayne, right? Kodiak Black, he commuted some sentences. Very interesting. I thought on the way out, he'd be like, yeah, give it to that guy with the mullet. Let's send him free. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, ExpressVPN. All right? Virtual private network. So you go on social media. You go anywhere. What's going on there, right? You are the end product, right? You think, I'm looking at stuff. No, you're the end product. Your data is worth a lot to all of these companies. Protect your data using ExpressVPN. It's great because you want to, look, I want to make myself anonymous. I want to do that. Well, that's how you do it with ExpressVPN. Makes your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. Why? Because they're hiding your IP address. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're doing. They encrypt 100% of your data to protect you from eavesdroppers on your network. And the app, well, it's so easy. ExpressVPN app couldn't be any easier. One tap, One button. That's it. Just on your phone and computer, you're protected. What are you waiting for? Take back your online privacy with the best VPN, the one I trust, the one I use. ExpressVPN.com/Benson. Here's something great. You go to that link, 3 extra months with a 1-year package, and it's so inexpensive with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN.com/Benson. ExpressVPN.com/Benson. Protect your data today with ExpressVPN.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
To be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks.
Don't be a cutie pie.
Probably sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
You're ruining my life, Bob! Yeah, you haven't seen anything yet.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
In the House, Democrats hold just an 11-vote edge. In the Senate, it's dead even. Kamala Harris is vice president, the tiebreaker. Big-ticket Democratic priorities like universal health care, the Green New Deal, new gun controls, and citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants not going anywhere fast. Lawmakers in the middle now more powerful than ever, and moderate policies are seen as those with the best chance of becoming law in the months ahead.
People are looking, at all of this. Like, how does he get this through? He's going to do executive actions, order here, order there. There's so much of this, though, is going to be challenged. And so much of this is going to be, is going to be fought not only in the public, but in the courts, just like it was with Trump. Nothing's going to change. These things will be challenged along the way. But there's a lot of stuff they're going to have to do to try to work together. But they talked about the tiebreaker there. Kamala Harris. And I don't think we should forget, with all the focus on Trump, right, with all the focus on him not being there today and all the focus on just so much of, the chaos and craziness over the last several weeks, is we have a VP that's a woman. It's about time. Is she capable? Yeah, she's more. For all those people who think she's stupid and you guys are idiots. She's not. She's a crafty person who's really smart, who who understood the game early on in the world of politics, and it is a game, and there are things you have to understand. Do I think she's evil? No. I don't think she's evil. But it's a historic day. It is. And I think the Republicans are also looking at this, especially Republican women, because so much of where Trump went wrong was in the suburban areas with suburban women, as well as white working class males. They picked up in other areas, but the reality is I think a lot of women were frustrated. A lot of Republican women I talked to were frustrated with a lot of things. But this is a historic day. And if you have daughters, this is the day where, we should. And I'm not talking about the politics. I'm not talking about any of those things. I'm just looking at it in a different way than most people will. Tomorrow, we go at it. We fight over things that we disagree about. But today's not one of those days. Well, she's going to kill him. That's my favorite one. I'm like, she's going to kill him? Like, when? Look, do you want to know what worries me? I said this yesterday, and I don't know if you saw this, producer Phil. When he landed and he goes out and they walk down those damn steps, I'm not lying to you. I get nervous. I got nervous with Trump and all the presidents because that thing looks like you're going to – the amount of times you do that, there's a tumble waiting to happen.
It looks very steep.
It does. There is a tumble waiting to happen. There is, totally. Like I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, and I'm sure it does. You see trips every now and then, but there is a tumble waiting to happen. Everybody thinks that she's behind, going to kick him off the thing. No, silly. It is a historic day, absolutely, and I think we should celebrate that. Doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. And we're going to fight, I'm sure. There's a lot of things that we got to talk about. And we'll see how the Republicans handle this, not being in power, but still having enough influence and power. Where are you going to give in and where are you going to hold your ground? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. 1.7-ish billion, I would say, give or take, the amount of Powerball and Mega Millions combined. We're going to go with 7 by the time everything's added up. $970 million in Mega Millions. 730 in Powerball. And as by the time we get to the point where everything's drawn, those numbers will change. But that's where we're at now. What would you do with it? How are you going to spend it? What are the chances of winning it? We'll talk about that. And Biden gets to do something he's never done before. And let me tell you something. It looks completely different from that seat. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I've talked to some of the Trump voters who I talk to across the nation. They're not listening today. Others will. Others want to move on. Others want to hear what he has to say. But now they feel like they are on the outs, that no one will listen to them. And I think that is such an important message.
Yes, Martha Raddatz there talking about a lot of things that Biden has to do. You know, for the last several, you know, the push of he's a socialist. He's not a socialist, right? He's not. He's not a socialist. He's a pedophile. He's not a pedophile. Stop it. Okay, you know, and they start going, well, he had, 47 years in politics. What's changed? Well, first of all, let's remember, 8 years, you're the VP. I mean, what outside of the last 3 weeks, what'd Mike Pence do? I mean, honestly, outside of that, outside of breaking a tie as president of Congress, well, what did they do? Honestly. Okay. And before that, you are a spoke in the wheel. You're one of 100 senators. Some have a little bit more power, but at the end of the day, your vote inside of there counts as much as any of their votes. So when you start to break things down, you start to realize, all right, you're part of it. The difference, when you talk about 3 co-equal branches, and you think about it, you have 538 over here, you got 1 there, and you got 9 over here. But you're one of those 500 plus. You're not, it's not like you're the one. He is the one now. He is the one riding the bicycle. He's the one making the decisions. He is the one that has to do a lot of things. The first thing that he must do, and he has to tackle it. And some people are basically saying, not only does he have to tackle it, it is the most important thing. And as this goes, will define his entire presidency. And that's the vaccination and COVID.
More than 7 in 10 voters believe the country currently is on the wrong track. Another 7 in 10 think the next 4 years will remain politically divided. And a majority say they are mainly worried and pessimistic about the nation's future. But let's be realistic. Biden's first and most crucial task is to vaccinate America, to fulfill that promise of 100 million vaccinations in his first 100 days. The ultimate success or failure of his presidency may hinge simply on that one promise that he made. And it might be his only way to begin immediately cauterizing America's social, economic, and political wounds and begin to combat that pessimism that you saw dripping from our poll.
100 days, 100 million vaccines. It's a tall order. I like it. It's optimistic. Can it be done? Of course it can be done. Of course it can. We got this vaccination up and running within 9 months. Even Trump said today, sometimes it takes 5-10 years. We got it done in 9 months. It's amazing. So yes, can it be done? But the reality is, this is the number one thing to tackle. You get this done first. You get us in a situation where you give governors no choice but to allow people to get back to work. You give no choice for us but to get moving forward. Absolutely a must. The one thing about Trump, all too often he went with his gut. You need a bit of gut. You need a lot of gut. Yeah, you had a little bit of gut, but you need a lot of gut. On the other side of things, we look at President Barack Obama before that. His big complaint by many, including Democrats, was he was paralysis by analysis. At some point, you've got to make a decision. In many cases, he hemmed and hawed too long on decisions because he wanted to try to figure out how he could get everybody's point of view into a decision. And sometimes you can't. You have to make that decision. Biden's never had that. He is that now. And it's one thing to throw your name in the hat, to be a congressman or a senator, and then to get to that point where you become one. It's another thing to say, I'm throwing my name in the hat and I want to run for president. And you run for president a couple times. And you get to the point where you're almost there, and then you get chosen, and you get to be VP. It is a completely different thing when it's on you. The enormity of what he's got to do. And it's not just even about COVID. We have a struggling economy. Absolutely. But it's still healthy. It's one of those things where, you know what, it's once we kick this, we're going to get moving and it's going to come back quick. I do believe that, but that's the longer it goes, the longer the comeback is going to take. But you're also dealing with a divided nation. And I think a lot of people are tasking him with healing the nation, uniting the nation. That's a tough order, man. That's a tall order. Trump exacerbated a lot of this, as did the media. The media enjoys the fight. It gets them clicks. It gets them likes. Those are the things that happen. That's the world we live in. I see it with people I, know who are in this business on radio and on television. And it's about taking something and blowing it up, making bigger and focusing on something because that's what it is. Because if I can get an emotion out of you, whether it be fear or excitement or whatever it is, then I can get you to pay attention to me. And that's the way it goes. Tasking him to heal the nation, that's going to take time. And B, the reality is that's tough. That's tough, man. That's you're asking somebody to do something that is virtually impossible because we're all individuals. What he needs to do is he needs to listen. He needs to listen to the people who think they don't have a voice and that Trump gave them a voice, not leave them out in the cold. He needs to address them at times straight at them, not demonize them, you can't do that. And I saw that a lot with both Trump and Obama. Obama he did that on more than a few occasions. And then you need to be steady, which I think he will be. And with the jokes aside about how old he is, and we joke about that, but I think he will be. But there's a lot on his shoulders, and he has got a ton of weight because people are asking him to do a lot of things, and that's not fair. It's not fair to Biden to say, hey, fix the nation. It's a hot mess, and we all seem to hate each other, which we don't. It's the other thing that we need to remind each other. 85+% of us don't feel the way that the media would like to think we feel. They don't. I don't hate anybody. I'm going to get frustrated with some of the insanity on both sides, but I don't hate anybody. But they would have you believe that that's what it is. So he's got a lot on his shoulders. And so do we. And this is where we come in, where we start taking personal responsibility for a lot of stuff, but we also start saying to ourselves, maybe we're not as divided. We find places, and if I'm Biden, I find places where there's absolute common ground, that we know that we can get to that common ground. Maybe even bring a cabinet member or two who is on the other side. I've always said if I was president, I would put at least one or two cabinet members that have a completely different point of view on my team, because it's important. So he's got a lot to do, but luckily, so do we. And I think we'll get there, but it's not going to be overnight. It isn't going to be overnight. And I think that's the thing. If you think that the healing's coming tomorrow and that tomorrow government's going to make everything great, no, it starts with us. He can go a long way in helping, and some of that's going to be the fact that he is like watching paint dry. But there's a lot out there. Once we get back to day-to-day life the way we remember it, the way it should be, once we stop fighting with local governments and all kinds of disinformation about the coronavirus and everything else because it's not in our face 24/7, that'll be a helper. But it is a lot to ask. Hey, dude, is there any way you can fix coronavirus and unify the nation? I don't know. I think it's a bit much. It is. It is a bit much. But the job's his. And at the end of the day, the spotlight burns brightest on him now. And so many times, you know, people always say, I want to be this and I want to be that. You know, everybody wants to be Batman. Sometimes people are only Robins. Now's his chance where they say, all right, you're Batman. He may fumble. He may thrive, but we're going to find out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love talking to all of you guys, love and hate. And I'm getting a bit of both today. I am. I'm getting a lot of that, and I expect that. Like I say, I expect it. I'm just not, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I'm not going to spend 4 years destroying Joe Biden because it's what some people think that we should be doing. That's just the dumbest thing in the world. I'm also not going to spend 4 years talking about this stuff nonstop as some of my cohorts do in this business because I just, you know what? When he does something good, we'll praise him. When he does something bad, we'll criticize him and we'll debate it. But I think it's time that we get back to finding commonality and having some fun because the more fun we have, let's be real, if you're having fun, a lot of everything else kind of falls by the wayside. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. All right. Tell you something. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. They do a lot of great things. They're out there lobbying on your behalf for a lot of stuff that you know, you hear, oh, they're conservative group. Yeah, they are. But at the same time, they're out there fighting for your First Amendment rights. They're out there fighting for your Second Amendment, but they're also out there doing things that you would think, well, that sounds like something that you wouldn't think they would do, which is making sure that Medicare and Social Security are solvent, that they're there for you. They also have great benefits from retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and so many other things. And it truly is amazing to see the work they do when people come to them and say, hey, should I sign up for this? Should I sign up for that? How does Social Security work? What do I need to do? And they walk them through those steps. Join today. It's pennies a day. And it's simple and easy to do by going to amac.us/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
And like that, 46 sworn in. New chapter. Earlier in the day, President Trump, Melania, the First Lady, departed Marine One to Air Force One. Andrews stopped and gave a quick speech, talk about a lot of stuff, and left everybody with this.
So, have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I was telling producer Phil, watching it today, it just, you don't have to it's like, I don't care what it is. It's to me, it renews hope. Like, this is who we are. No person. Biden's not bigger than us. Trump isn't bigger than us. And this chaos and craziness that we think that's out there, it's not the way that people like to make it out to be. And it makes you think, man, I'm beyond lucky to live in this country. And we are blessed. There's a lot of work to do. There is. But when isn't there a lot of work? I can't remember the last time there wasn't work, to do. Unless you're winning that Powerball. And we're trying. Don't get me wrong. It's $1.6 billion. Who's not trying? It's like $2 change your life. But here we are. I want Biden to succeed. I wanted Trump to succeed. Trump's legacy will be looked at differently today than it will a year from now. And a year from now, it'll be looked at differently than 3 years from now and 4 years from now. And that's the way it is. The further you get away from being inside of it, and not everything is going to be bad. Is he the worst president? Some people say he's the worst. Is he the best president? No, he's not the best. Was he the most divisive? We did go to war, so I'm with each other. So it's even though it was over issues, but it's everything in its time and in its place. I gave Trump as good as he got, and he as I should. And I also praised him and defended him at times when it was ridiculous, from Russia to a bunch of other crap that was just absolute insanity. And the media and Trump, they played a huge part in the battle. But at the end of the day, he had his 4 years. For all the fighting, all the anger, everything, it's over. And we flip the page, whether people want to or not, and we have a new president. And like everything that's new, there's optimism, it's fresh, it's like a relationship, right? We're going to hit some bumpy patches. We are. That newness is going to go away. There's going to be some serious questions, as there should be. But all we can do is what we do, which is get out there every single day, do the best we can to bust our ass, control as much as we can within our own life by taking personal responsibility. Because that's what we need to be doing more of. I want Biden to succeed. Will he? Time will tell. Time will tell. I wanted Trump to succeed. In some ways he didn't. In some ways he did. At the end of the day, Biden's the president. Here we go. You guys have a blessed day. We'll do it again tomorrow. As always, Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.